to thank everybody for coming today. It turned out to be a really cool day, and it had the feel that I wanted it to feel. I just wanted it to be a bunch of people getting together and training, kind of, you know, David and I are always talking about old school mentality and work ethic and how camaraderie is gone in bodybuilding. And we kind of just wanted to have that feel to it. And I knew if I invited these guys here that we would definitely, that would happen. And we got the perfect amount of people here to where everybody's able to train. So thank you everybody for coming out. You guys can ask anything you want. I'm pretty sure that nobody's,
not everything.
that nobody's gonna, not anything? So nobody asked Marco Rivera any questions? And that's about it. So just raise your hand and she's going to bring the microphone out to you and she'll repeat your question to make sure everybody hears it and you'll get an answer.
Recently I was just thinking, like, I guess if you look back in the 90s, like every guy came in peeled, you know what I mean? Everybody sort of hit their mark. And I was just wondering what you guys think it is. Like, it seems like a lot of guys are missing their peak, missing their mark, like at the high level shows lately.
I have to answer that.
Jon Dealrosa, I guess.
Are you saying Jon doesn't come?
No.
Wait a minute. Those lot of guys don't shave their arms.
No for hitting the mark every time.
Say something.
I guess, I mean, I don't want to say that people don't work as hard.
But they don't.
Yeah, I guess some people don't, but like for myself, I've missed my mark a few times, but it's not that I'm not putting in the work. Sometimes you do too much, your body gets tired. But I'm sure there's athletes that don't do enough as well. So it's really hard to like pinpoint exactly what it is. I think from case to case it's different. I guess that's really what I think about it.
I think the sport has evolved a lot since the early 90s, 80s. I find that most people, the average person, has a lot more to do in a daily basis, and there's obviously a lot of new supplements out, a lot of new strategies, all these different types of diets, and most, you know, the common athlete is always trying to find, so to speak, an easier way to get the same result, or if not a better result, and you know, it's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss. And I've done that as well. And what I tend to do in situations like that is just revert right back to the basics. And every time I go back to the basics, the fundamentals of it, everything just winds up coming back exactly, you know, how we planned the outcome. But I think, you know, there's so many different types of supplements, so many different types of dieting styles, and everybody has this own notion of how much cardio and when to do it and so on. And at the end of the day, it's just really going back to the basics of it. And I would probably owe a lot of people that not coming in shape to, you know, because of that. And you know, also back then, trainers and coaches and so on were, in my opinion, I felt were a lot more hands-on. You know, people that you work with a lot more hands-on. And, you know, obviously we got a lot of top guys. You got who's your coach? You know, you got Chris Aceto, you got Farah, and a lot of guys, Hanny Rambod, guys that are very, very much hands-on in a way, and that's the reason why a lot of their athletes tend to come in really, really tremendous shape. And it's just a little bit more about going kind of back to that, as opposed to, you know, everything is a lot of pictures now and so on, and that didn't go on back then. And you know, it's kind of gotten a little diluted, and I agree with what you're saying. You know, you get 20 athletes in one lineup and 5 of them are on, and the rest of it is just like, all right, well, you know, they're in great shape, but it's not everybody's coming in dynamite. And that's why I kind of like the 212 a little bit, you know, because everybody comes in getting shredded, you know. It's just a dynamite category, but you know, nonetheless, it's just, in my opinion, it's just going back to the basics.
I think I keep reading the same stuff, but I personally think it's bullshit.
I agree.
I don't think they were way better conditioned in the 90s. I think, as you know, there were a few great guys back then. There was Ronnie, there was you know, Nasser, Flex, Shaun Ray. There were more superstars at the top of the sport, But aside from that, you look at today, I mean, we have plenty of guys that are peeled all the time.
Compare the top 10 to top 10.
Yeah, you know, and then add in guys like Flex Lewis, and that Puerto Rican kid Jose, you know. You get a lot of guys that are absolutely peeled. So I don't believe it. I think that someone ran with it, and then everybody just jumps on the bandwagon and says the 90s were better. I don't believe it. I think it's just a matter of, in any sport, people say, that generation was better, and it's just not the case. If it was the case, I'm gonna defend it. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Back then, those guys were getting paid really well, okay? And you had those guys doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 shows a year, where today guys do 1 or 2 shows. You know, you can't nail it every time when you're doing it 1 or 2 shows a year. These guys got better with each show and got better at mastering how to peak for a show. I'm a pro bodybuilder who does pretty well. I work a full-time job. So, you know, that tells you what it's like, you know. Guys back then did not. And, you know, I have a sponsor. I have a couple sponsors, but I still got to work a full-time job. If I didn't, I'm sure I would compete a lot more. And I do compete a lot anyway. But to make a long story short, I think it's bullshit.
Brought it back.
I just want to first say this, there's nothing against anybody who's been competing for a while and hasn't reached their pinnacle or won everything. Is, you know, obviously in any race or anything, there can only be one winner. Now, obviously everybody pursues to win, and that's fine, but actually winning is actually rare. If you look at the percent of people who become champions. And now it doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for that goal, it doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for your dream, because in reality we all started to do this because we loved it. And because we love lifting, we love the way we look, and when we can change our body, we decide to compete. Now, I think a lot of the things have shifted today, not just saying, like, you know, what you're saying, but where people need a reward to keep going. And where sometimes you just do it because you love to do it. I've raced motocross my whole life, and when I used to race, you know, I thought I was pretty badass in my high school. I was pretty good. I'd go to my first race, get run over, dead last. Race again, dead last. I'm like, I think I'm gonna quit. My dad looks at me, he's like, you're gonna quit because this is hard? Or you're gonna quit because you really want to quit? And I'm like, that stuck with me forever. I'm like, I'm not gonna quit just because it's hard, I'm gonna keep at it because I do love it. And then eventually, it does pay off. But the bottom line is, like, there's always highs and lows. And I guess you really have, if you're attaching yourself to just winning and just doing well, then it's not the right motivation to do it to begin with. Everybody wants to win, not everybody can win. There's certain people individually, genetically, who will never be the best. And that shouldn't be the only driving motivator to want to do something. You want to be the best that you can be, and as long as you're progressively changing years and years and bringing the whole new you, you're still winning. And that should be enough. But I mean, defeat is, I tell people, I mean, if you get defeated, that's like a learning process. People who win, they're dumb. They don't learn anything. It's like, could you imagine doing your first show and you win? Next show you win. Then you win every damn show you did. There's never a trial or error you had to overcome. So in reality, you don't really know that much. People who fail constantly, it's always like a learning experience. Like, oh, back to the drawing board, what do I need to do now? And that person becomes more experienced. So look at it in the way of, think of how much knowledge you have after all those years of competing, you know? But highs and lows are normal. Not everybody's motivated all the time. And that's one thing a lot of people think that, like, well, this guy's got to be motivated 110% of every day. I'm sure every one of us at one point is like, I don't know if I want to do this today. I don't know if I want to keep doing this to myself. And then you're like, nah, I'll be fine. But it's normal.
First, Chris, if the olive oils that you use went out of business, there was no more, what would you do? And then second, the funniest stories that you guys have from backstage, NPC or IFBB.
All right, you guys all know Guy Sistanino, right?
Oh boy.
So 2007, he comes up to me backstage, and I had already won the Nationals a couple times. I was kind of well known in the little guy divisions. And he comes up to me, never heard of him, with his heavy Jersey accent and waxed eyebrows. And he's like, yo, I'm Guy. I'm supposed to introduce myself to you. It's gonna be me and you. I'm like, really? And I've never even heard of you. He's like, yeah. And he's like looking me up and down. Yep, it's me and you. So we're, and sure enough, it ends up being coming down to me and him. And I beat him. And meanwhile, as we're waiting to go out to posing routines, I hear like swears and like, yeah, fuck you, I'll kick your ass. And guy has got this kid by the throat, ready to pound the shit out of him backstage before we're about to pose. Because the kid bumped into him or something. I'm like dying here. I'm like, this is awesome. So we beat him, and I was a total arrogant prick to him. He's like, all upset, and I'm like, come on, buddy. I'm like, come on. Your first national show, and you get to play second to me. We've been friends ever since, but he obviously thought I was an ass, and that was for good reason. But he needed a good ass kicking. That was the best story I could come up with.
So, anyone who wants to answer those, I can hear a couple thoughts on, what are your thoughts about the return of judging the posing rounds, how that's going to affect you? Specifically, a lot of the fans for many, many years now have been clamoring for kind of a return to old school or older school bodybuilding in a lot of ways. This kind of seems to be maybe an introduction of that. Are you a fan? Do you think it'll help to repopularize bodybuilding in some of the fan base, or do you think it's just going to make things more complicated and messy than it already is?
No, I mean, I'm on the same mindset that Evan was at, which is just the simple fact that most of us up here, we bodybuild because we love doing it. And I mean, for me personally, and this is probably on the other end of the spectrum, competing itself is not really that exciting to me. The act of getting on stage, prep is great, getting ready. I'd be cool to take my pictures with Chris the day of the show and go out and eat and call it a day. That part's just not entertaining. I do appreciate and understand that this is a professional sport and you need to do something for the show. But I just think back to when I was, and I still am, but when I was just a fan and watching, if money didn't matter, I went to prejudging every single time. Because that's bodybuilding to me. That's where we decide who wins the show, and I think that those transitions and that posing should matter and does matter. The rest to me is really just song and dance, and it's pretty, but it shouldn't separate. If I'm standing next to somebody and they outpose me right next to me, that makes sense, because they're going to show a superior physique because of it. But what they do on their own, I mean, I can barely walk, so dancing is dangerous. Shouldn't do it, and that's kind of the end of the story. Like, it's going to be good, like you said, for entertaining and getting people excited about coming to watch. So at the end of the day, you got to remember it's a business, and that's what we're looking at is how can we bring more dollars in? And if people want to watch men dance around in their underwear, then they got to do it pretty. People want to see freaks. Someone will actually come see me. Beautiful. We're good to go. Puff the
I
Magic
like
Dragon.
to talk. My only problem with it is what constitutes a good posing routine. Do you like Kai Green dancing, gyrating? Or do you like Cedric's, classic posing? That's going to be a problem, because how do we judge this? How is it going to be judged? Is it going to go off crowd response? Is it going to go off, 65-year-old judges? Or I don't really see how they're going to judge it. But I think it's good. I'm not really worried about it, because I don't think that's judging a dance routine. They're going to judge how you pose, how you actually hit the shot. It's not who choreographs the best dance routine, because that's not bodybuilding. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. I think it's going to be tough to judge what really is a good posing routine. My 2 cents.
Growing up, I focused a lot on routines. Like when I would watch the videos and watch contests, and you would get a Lila Brada come up on stage, probably the smallest guy in the open at that time, and he would do what he do, and it would just be, something that you'll never forget, and obviously catapulted him to a whole different level, the whole entire package. I don't think winning is going to be based on the posing routine itself. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there will be a separate prize for the posing routine, so the best poser, according to the judges at that night, will take a separate reward for the posing routines. But if you're winning on stage through your repositories, and it's not going to change the outcome because your posing routine is probably not better than the next man. But accentuate your whole presentation. The whole posing routine of it is where you get to showcase everything that you've worked for over the course of years, and being a master at that is only going to make you so much better and look so much better on stage. So, posing for me is a very important part of bodybuilding, because that's a lot of what I remember seeing all these athletes over the course of years is just that whole notion of how they get up there, how they put it all together. And it also lets you know what type of athlete they are, because posing is not easy at all, especially when you're dehydrated and you're cramping, and how easy these tremendous athletes make it seem up there. It's actually very, very difficult. So to go up there and execute it the way they do, it says a lot about what their training and what they choose to invest in when nobody's watching. So posing, in my opinion, is a very important part of the process, but it's not going to be the winning aspect. Okay.
What do you guys do when you get, too injured to the point where you can't train for whether it's a week or a month, or you have to take 2 years off, or it's just no longer productive to do what you want to do?
I'll just give you a little background. I am genetically not durable. Example, my father tore his bicep turning an Allen wrench. That's my father. So I've torn my hamstring, my tricep, my pec. I've torn cartilage in my knee. I've broken tons of bones racing motocross. So first of all, I guess injuries has never been new to me since I was 8. So I remember racing, break my arm. I'm like, damn it, another 8 weeks. 12 weeks go by, get back on the bike. 3 more months go by, break my ribs. So I'm used to that sideline. But from lifting and soft tissue damage, sometimes can be different. And really, none of the injuries I've ever had for bodybuilding completely sidelined me, luckily. But it does blow the wind out of your sail. But I always say to myself, look at professional sports and strongmen, powerlifters, motocross, football. Some people have the most catastrophic injuries ever, and then they come back even better the next time. It's what doctor are they seeing? Because I want to go talk to them. And I knew, when I tore my pec, I was just this could be it. I couldn't even wash my hands. I had to hold my hand on the table and then wash it this way. It was terrible. And I'm I really thought to myself, this could be it forever. I might need to take up croquet or something, Yeah. Who knows why you heard that? But immediately you just start working around the trained muscle, start doing what you can, you start doing active rehab. When she said, she's rested, and once inflammation was going down, she concentrate some more on core movements to prevent the injury again. But I guess sometimes, on all my injuries, there's always a warning, and I listen to them. There's always a little sign saying, your body gives you warning. I'm it's fine. Nope. But it's a normal process, but I can say that, you can't let little injuries. When I hear people be oh, I pulled the muscle, I'm so disappointed. I'm shut up. You have no idea. So, little injuries here and there, no biggie, but it's normal part of the process. You just got to learn from it, see what you can prevent it, and then just work around it. Because I don't know how many times my chiropractor's don't go to the gym tomorrow. I'm I won't. And he's well, how's the gym yesterday? I'm it was fine. But these Nautilus machines, these little machines are, your posture's perfect and you can just do this. I could always do something. I had hernia surgery, and this is funny. So it was my dad's friend. My dad's a physician. And my dad told the guy I was an asshole, beat the shit out of my body. So the doctor's clear as day. He's you can't go to the gym for 3 months. I'm 3 months? I'm you sure? He's yes. He goes, it can come out. He goes, your hernia, the little sheath in there can come out. I'm well, what if I'm carrying a book bag to school? That's 20 pounds. I could blow it out. He's no. 20 pounds, stuff that's fine. I'm he's full of shit. I'm going to go to the gym and do 20-pound lateral raises. But I was in the gym 5 days later just doing what I could do within my limits. Hope that gives some people hope.
Quick question for Mr. Cardone, being pro for about a year now. What's it like being up here with these guys and knowing that you're going to be prepping and competing against guys that no offense, could be old enough to be your father. It's got to be overwhelming. But is it, do you use that as a motivating factor, or is it kind of overwhelming being so young against these types of guys?
Yes. Well, I haven't really even thought about that. It's a good feeling because these are all guys, you know, I've seen John, Victor, Marco, everybody, Jose, everybody here I watched.
What about me?
Easy.
Well, you only did like 2 shows.
When I was a teenager, I would go to the shows, I would watch them, I would see them on Muscular Development, RX Muscle. Oh, can you hear me better? Sorry. So when I was a teenager, I was watching, you know, them compete and come up in the pro ranks and whatnot, and here I was, I wanted to be a pro. I didn't expect to be a pro till I was about 25 or 26, maybe 28. I didn't want to do nationals till I was 25. Is it overwhelming? No, because I feel and believe in myself that whatever's my best, and I will get whatever I deserve that day. It's more motivating than anything because I'm in a position that not many people are in. And there's also just a lot to learn from it, you know. Instead of, why be scared? I'd rather just jump right in. Like Shaun Ray told me right after I got my pro card, he goes, just jump right in. You know, there's only one way to find out. You know, if you run around for 3-4 years, everybody's gonna forget about you. You're not gonna learn anything, you know, so why not just go for it? So, it's a good feeling. It's just a really good feeling. So I'm gonna do New York Pro, and that'll be my first show. And we'll see what happens, but it's exciting.